Have you ever stopped to wonder what a woman really feels when you're not around? Most men assume she's missing them, scrolling through old photos, thinking about their texts, or waiting for a message that never comes. But that's not how attraction works. Not really. When you step out of her sight, something far deeper begins. A test, not of her emotions, but of yours. Because what she feels in your absence is not random. It's a reflection of the strength, calm, and presence you carried when you were there. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you leave, your color, your energy, remains in her memory. And whether that color is calm or chaotic determines everything that follows. Let's talk about what really happens when she can't feel your presence, and why your reaction to that silence defines not only your relationship, but your entire sense of self. Lesson 1. Your absence reveals your value. A woman doesn't test you with words. She tests you with space. When you stop calling, when you stop chasing, when you stop being constantly available, something powerful begins to happen. She starts to wonder. That wondering isn't confusion or anger, it's curiosity. It's the first spark of respect being reborn, because only when there is distance can a person truly measure your presence. You see, constant availability kills mystery. It dulls appreciation. It breeds what psychologists call emotional inflation. The more of you she can access at any moment, the less of you she values. When you're always there, texting back instantly, answering every call, bending to every plan, she doesn't feel security. She feels predictability. And predictability, without boundaries, becomes emotional noise. Absence, when rooted in confidence, cuts through that noise. It creates space for her to feel your worth rather than just see your effort. It's not about playing games, it's about letting your energy breathe. Think of music. Without pauses, there is no rhythm. Without silence, there is no melody. Your presence too needs contrast to be heard. If you're always chasing, always proving, always reassuring, she never experiences what it's like to miss you. She never gets the tension that fuels desire. And desire is not born from comfort, it's born from contrast. It's the same law that governs everything valuable in life. When you check your phone every 10 seconds, notifications lose their meaning. When you say yes to every request, your yes loses its impact. When you overexpose your presence, you dilute your worth. What was once special becomes ordinary. What was once magnetic becomes mundane. Absence is not neglect, it's calibration. It resets the scale of value. It gives her the chance to earn what she once took for granted. Human desire, at its core, is wired to respond to scarcity, to effort, to something that must be earned. A woman doesn't want to own your time. She wants to feel that your time matters. So the next time you feel that pull to double text, to call, just to make sure she hasn't forgotten you, pause. Ask yourself one simple question. Am I trying to connect, or am I trying to calm my own fear? Because there's a difference. One comes from grounded strength. The other comes from insecurity. When you reach out from anxiety, what you're really saying, without realizing it, is, "My peace depends on your response." And that's when respect begins to die. Because a man who loses peace in her silence is a man who's already surrendered his frame. Your absence should not feel like punishment. It should feel like presence remembered, like the aftertaste of something strong and rare. Let your silence speak of discipline. Let your distance remind her that your world keeps moving, with or without her. Because nothing commands attraction more than a man who does not beg for it. and nothing kills respect faster than dependence dressed as love. Lesson 2. The power of quiet presence. In a world addicted to noise, silence has become a rare form of power. Everywhere you look, people are shouting for attention, posting, explaining, defending, proving. But the truth is simple: the louder you are, the less people listen. Most men destroy attraction not because they lack charm, looks, or success, but because they lack composure. They can't sit in silence. They can't let space exist without rushing to fill it. So they talk, they justify, they explain, and in doing so, they talk themselves out of respect. A woman can feel your energy even when you say nothing. Your stillness communicates what words never can: your mastery over yourself. Your tone, your posture, your pace, all reveal whether you are the calm center or the chaos reacting to her storms. Stillness separates men who lead themselves from men who are led by emotion. It's the same energy that separates an emperor from a servant, a king from his court, a grounded man from the restless. Think back to your last argument. She pulled away. You felt that ache in your chest, that impulse to fix it. Did you fill the silence with long texts, apologies, and explanations just to soothe the discomfort? Or did you let the silence breathe long enough for her to feel your composure, your calm refusal to be dragged into emotional chaos? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That is the essence of silence. It's not arrogance. It's self-discipline disguised as calm. It's patience made visible. In the modern world, this discipline is tested every day. She posts a story that feels directed at you, a song lyric, a picture, something she knows will trigger your curiosity. You feel the itch to reply, to reassert your presence, to remind her you still matter. But the man who understands his worth doesn't chase ghosts on screens. He lets the story fade into digital dust. Because silence, when grounded in confidence, doesn't create absence, it creates intrigue. It says, "I saw it, I felt it, and I chose peace over reaction." Understand this: silence is not weakness, it's restraint. It's the space where respect grows. Every moment you resist the urge to over-explain, you teach her something about you, that your emotions don't own you, and neither does she. And that quiet certainty, that's what a woman remembers long after your words have faded. Lesson 3. When she withdraws. Here's the truth. When a woman pulls away, it doesn't always mean she's leaving. Sometimes she's not walking out, she's watching. She's paying attention to what your silence reveals, to what your actions whisper when your mouth stays closed. She's observing whether your structure collapses the moment her attention fades, or whether you remain solid, unmoved, grounded, consistent. This is where most men fail. The weak man feels her distance like a threat. He panics, he texts more, he explains himself. He tries to fix a situation that isn't broken, only unfolding. The strong man does the opposite. He tightens his routine. He wakes earlier, trains harder, focuses deeper. He uses her withdrawal as fuel to sharpen himself rather than as a reason to unravel. Because the man who truly understands life knows what Seneca meant when he wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle is an invitation to evolve. When she steps back, you don't chase, you refine. You turn silence into discipline. You turn distance into focus. You let your consistency speak louder than any desperate words ever could. Seneca also warned, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly where most men lose the battle. She doesn't reply for a few hours and their mind spins stories. She's lost interest, she's moved on, she's done. But those stories are fiction. They're just imagination trying to fill the gap that silence created. The man who wins is the man who masters that gap. He refuses to be ruled by emotion. He replaces worry with work, panic with purpose. He knows that absence is not a punishment, it's a mirror. It reflects his maturity back at him. It shows whether he's a man who governs his impulses or one who's governed by them. Ask yourself this: if she didn't reply for 2 days, would your energy collapse or expand? Would you spend those hours waiting, scrolling, checking, or building, learning, and becoming? The difference between weak men and strong ones is not how they act when loved, it's how they act when ignored. If you can stand calm in uncertainty, if you can remain steady while everything feels uncertain, you become something rare. You become the eye of the storm, the only still point in a chaotic world. And that's what she ultimately searches for, a man whose peace doesn't depend on her presence. Lesson 4. Her tests are not cruelty. Most men make a dangerous mistake. They interpret a woman's silence, distance, or hesitation as manipulation. But most of the time, it's not cruelty, it's instinct. Women are intuitive by nature. They don't test you to control you. They test you to trust you. They're not trying to catch you failing. They're trying to see if your strength is real or just performance. When she pulls back, she's not punishing you. She's asking a question she'll never say out loud. Can I trust your strength when I can't feel your approval? Can I lean on your composure when I test its edges? Every relationship contains these invisible tests. They happen in silence, in pauses, in emotional distance. When she's quiet, she's not only observing your words, she's studying your rhythm. She's watching if your calm remains calm when challenged, if your values hold when no one's watching, if your talk about discipline is more than talk. Think of a blacksmith striking steel. He doesn't hit it to destroy it. He hits it to temper it, to see whether it bends, breaks, or becomes stronger. In the same way, women test consistency to discover what kind of man they're truly dealing with. If you talk about ambition but never act on it, she feels it. If you promise loyalty but flirt with temptation, she senses it. If you preach calm but explode at silence, she sees it. You can't hide inconsistency from intuition. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That's how women read men, not through speeches, but through alignment between words, energy, and behavior. Your credibility isn't built when you talk. It's built when you don't have to. Your consistency is your reputation. Your discipline is your language. And your absence, how you carry yourself when unseen, is the truest proof of all. When she tests you, she's not asking for perfection. She's asking for stability. She wants to feel that when life shakes, you won't. That your emotions won't turn her world upside down. That your silence isn't passive aggression, but peace. So don't resent the test, welcome it. Because every time you pass, not by reacting, but by remaining, you build something unbreakable: trust. And trust, once earned through consistency, becomes the foundation of attraction that no amount of charm or words can ever replace. Lesson 5. Modern examples of strength. Let's bring these ideas down from philosophy into real life, into the world of messages, screens, and modern habits where most men quietly lose their power. Start with something simple: texting. When you don't respond instantly, she doesn't just wait. She wonders. That wondering isn't anger. More often, it's curiosity. Sometimes it's even admiration. She begins to ask herself, What kind of man isn't desperate for instant replies? What kind of man moves through his day without needing constant validation? That question is powerful. It sparks attraction not because you played a game, but because you demonstrated restraint. The digital world has trained us to believe that fast response equals care. But in truth, fast response often signals dependence. The man who's always reachable becomes predictable. The man who answers on his own time radiates authority. Now think about social media. You stop posting for a week, not to provoke, but because you're building something, improving yourself, focusing on real progress. Suddenly, she starts checking your page more often, not because she misses your selfies or stories, but because she misses the certainty of knowing you're available. That uncertainty makes her respect you. It tells her that your energy is being invested somewhere meaningful. In that quiet gap, her perception of you shifts. She stops seeing you as a participant in her world and starts seeing you as the center of your own. And that's the essence of attraction, being grounded in your own orbit. Even outside relationships, the same law applies. In business, if you're always pitching, always pleading, always lowering your price to please others, people stop respecting you. They might like you, but they won't follow you. But when you walk away from deals that insult your value, when you let opportunities pass because they don't align with your standards, you gain leverage. Suddenly, the same people who dismissed you start chasing your attention. Why? Because scarcity commands respect. The same principle rules love, work, and power. When you stop chasing, you start choosing. When you stop begging for approval, you start receiving it naturally. When you stop performing for validation, you start living from purpose. And that's the paradox of modern strength. The quieter your energy, the louder your presence becomes. The man who no longer needs to prove his worth is the man everyone quietly watches, wonders about, and, in the end, respects. Lesson 6. The Stoic Law of Self-Control. The Stoics never taught men to be indifferent. They taught them to be masters of themselves. They didn't preach coldness or emotional detachment. They preached direction, to care deeply but without losing control, to feel fully but without being ruled by those feelings. You don't stop caring, you stop reacting. You don't suppress emotion, you shape it. You don't run from love, you rise above neediness. When a woman pulls away, your job is not to interpret every signal or dissect every silence. It's to govern your inner world, to remain calm when uncertainty tries to shake you, because that's what self-control really is, the ability to stay unmoved in the face of chaos. Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom isn't the absence of relationships, it's the absence of emotional slavery. It means you can love without losing yourself. It means you can give without collapsing. It means your peace is not borrowed, it's built. Most modern men confuse silence with weakness. They think that if they don't respond, they're losing ground. But the opposite is true. Silence is often the loudest form of composure. It's what happens when your emotions obey you, not the other way around. True silence isn't empty, it's full of choice. It says, I could speak, but I choose patience. It says, I could chase, but I choose presence. It says, I could lose her and still keep myself. That's what separates the reactive man from the stoic man. The reactive one is a slave to outcomes. The stoic one is free because he acts from principle, not impulse. Self-control doesn't make you robotic. It makes you real. It's what allows you to feel anger without violence, desire without obsession, and love without dependence. It's what gives your words weight and your presence gravity. When she sees that your mood doesn't collapse with her silence, she feels safe in your steadiness. When she notices that your composure doesn't crack under pressure, she feels trust instead of fear. That's why self-control isn't just a personal virtue, it's the foundation of attraction that lasts, because power without peace is dangerous, and love without discipline is chaos. In the end, the Stoic man doesn't conquer others, he conquers himself. And that quiet victory is the one every woman and every life will respect. Lesson 7. When she feels the void. Now we arrive at the hardest truth, one that separates boys from men, attraction from respect. When she can no longer feel your energy in her daily life, her subconscious begins to measure. It's not a conscious checklist, it's instinct, quiet and ancient. In that silence, she starts asking herself questions she doesn't even realize she's asking. Was he the storm or the anchor? Did his presence bring peace or chaos? Am I missing him or just missing control? This is where most men fail. They interpret her silence as rejection and panic. They try to win her back with words, with memes, with explanations, with desperate confessions of love. They perform for attention instead of embodying strength. But the man who truly understands energy knows that silence is a test of gravity. He doesn't rush to fill the void. He becomes the structure that defines it. He lets her feel his absence not as punishment, but as presence transformed, discipline, direction, purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." You are that rock. Her emotions are the waves. They will rise, crash, and retreat. You don't fight them, you don't explain them. You simply endure them with patience and presence. When she feels that steadiness, when she realizes that her storms no longer move you, something shifts inside her. She starts to see you not as another emotional partner, but as an anchor, a center, a reference point of strength. That is when respect begins to replace attraction. And respect lasts longer than desire ever could. Eventually, she notices that your life has continued, not bitterly, not recklessly, but deliberately. You're working, improving, building. You're not seeking revenge, you're seeking growth. That's when she feels something deeper than longing. She feels trust. And in the hierarchy of attraction, trust sits above everything, above chemistry, above charm, above passion. Because while desire excites a woman, trust makes her stay. Understand this. The void you leave behind is not a weakness, it's a stage, and how you fill that stage with silence, purpose, and composure determines how the story ends. If you can stand still while her emotions swirl, if you can let absence reveal your character instead of your panic, you become something every woman remembers. Not the storm that passed through her life, but the calm that stayed within it. The closing reflection, the quiet power of a centered man. Here's what all this means. When a woman feels peace in your absence, you've become more than a man. You've become a force. Because she's no longer drawn to your words or gestures, but to the calm gravity of your character. This is the Stoic paradox. The less you need control, the more control you gain. The less you demand attention, the more attention you attract. The less you chase validation, the more people trust your value. The world doesn't need louder men. It needs calmer ones. Men whose silence carries discipline, whose actions carry integrity, whose absence feels not like punishment, but presence made eternal. So when you leave the room, what do you leave behind? Panic or peace? Noise or gravity? Because the way she feels when you're not around is the echo of who you truly are. Remember this, respect isn't built when she sees you. It's built when she feels you, even when you're gone. If this message speaks to you, share it. And never forget, in a world addicted to noise, the quiet man is the one who holds all the power.